Hi there, I'm Gabriel. I'm going to be showing you how to achieve this simple animation of a ball jumping over a wall. We're going to do this with very beginner level animation technique, and also going to give the ball some character using a couple of deformers. So follow along. We're going to start from the beginning. Okay, let's start by setting the scene. We're going to create a floor. That's going to be the basis for this animation, so to speak. So we're going to create polygon plane. Hitting the R key, you are gonna get these manipulators, and just scale it using the middle one, and let's go to 20. You can see it right here, it says 20, or just hit enter 20 and hit enter. Great, so we have the floor. Great start. Now let's create the character for our animation, which is a ball in this case, and we're going to create that by going to polygons, sphere. Good, and to make it sit on top of the plane, we'll go to translate Y, and we're going to enter 1, hitting enter. So that's that. Next up, let's move the ball slightly in the Z-axis, which is the axis in which it's going to be traveling. So we'll move it over. Let's place it at 5, precisely. Great. So we have the ball, we have a floor. Now we need something for the ball to jump over, an obstacle. So we're going to create a wall by going to polygon and cube. And now we're going to scale this cube to make it look a little more like a wall. So we're going here and we're going to make it scale, let's say 10 in the X. And we're going to make it twice as high as it is, no, let's say half as tall as it is wide, right? That would be logical. So let's put 5 in the y axis and move it up so it's sitting on top. So if you want to be mathematical, you can enter 2.5 there, which is going to be an very accurate value. We're going to make it a little bit thinner, so scale also the z-axis. Let's put it at 0.3, yeah, 0.4. It's going to look just right. Great. So having done that, we have set the stage for this little animation. Also, before we go into the animation part, we're going to make sure that the timeline is the correct length for this little clip. Right now you can see that the timeline is stretching over 200 frames, and we have 120 frames visible right now, right here. So we'll just change that to 60, because that's all we're going to need. So where it says 200, we'll just enter 60. That will, as you see, we have now 60 frames. And also want to make sure that you have auto keyframe enabled, because this is a very good setting. Makes sure that you never forget to set a key. It helps a lot. Well, let's just dive into the animation. Okie dokie, we have the scene. Now let's start the animating part. Great. Let's make sure that the timeline is, that the playhead is at the beginning of the timeline. And also let's bring up the graph editor. We're going to put the graph editor right here, down here. And we'll do that by going to Panels, Saved Layouts, Perspective, Graph. Good, so we have the graph editor and the perspective view neatly side by side. Okay, great. Let's go and select the sphere and hit S. This will set a keyframe on all the attributes. And next, we're going to go to frame. We're going to go to frame 50 because this is where we want the ball to end up after it's jumped the wall. So let's go to frame 50 and let's move the ball to the other side of the wall. And we'll do that by hitting W, which gives you the manipulator. And let's just middle mouse clicking on the blue arrow and sliding it over to the other side. We want it to, let's just keep this symmetrical, so to make sure that it arrives on the same distance as it started from, let's just make sure it's -5. Okay. Next up, we're going to check out the curve we've got here by hitting F down here. Now you see the curve showing the values, the value changing in the z-axis, the translate z. Now we're going to set keyframes on the frames where the ball will be bouncing on. So this will be a great starting point. So we're going to go to the frames 10. This is where it's going to be initiating the first jump, and we're hitting S. Next, we'll go to the frame where the ball is landing from its first jump. Let's make that 21. It's right there, right before it's going to make the big jump. We'll go to where it lands after the big jump, which will be frame 37, and hitting S. We'll go to frame 48, and that will be the final landing from this third jump, which is between 37 and 48. Great. Also, let's see. Let's go to the next phase is making the ball jump in the y-axis naturally. This is where it will be traveling upwards and downwards. So let's go to where, right in between the two first bounces, or the taking off and the landing of the first jump, we'll put the first translate y value. Now let's make sure that this value is, we'll slide it up a little bit, see where it ends. This is going to be the first jump, so make it 3. 3 in the y-axis. We'll go to the big jump. The big jump is going to be at this height on frame 28, I think. It's pretty good. Yeah. Let's put it at 28. And this needs to be a little higher, of course, so that it can make the wall. There it is. We have the ball in the clear, so to speak. Now we go to let's go to the frame where it's on the maximum of the third and last jump, which is going to be the same as the first jump, just for simplicity, but we're going to adjust it probably a little later on. So let's make it 3. Great. So what we now have, we can check this out. Go to the, we'll rewind the playhead and just hit play. Right, we have some kind of floating going on. It's not really bouncing, is it? Well, that's okay. It's a start. So the first thing we're going to be looking at now is how to make the y-axis more bouncy. So we'll go to translate y and just show the y-axis curve. Okay, and the the bouncing is going on these frames that are, so to speak, touching the floor, right? So we'll select them, just the bottom ones, and we'll go to this icon, which is the linear tangents, just hitting that. Okay, so what we got now is the pointy curve where it's hitting the ground. Perfect. We can check this out. We'll just hit play. Well, now you see we have a major improvement. It's actually bouncing. Good. We'll move over to the translate Z, and here's the translation of the sphere in the Z-axis. It's starting off a little slow, and then it accelerates and goes on to stopping smoothly. Well, we would like this to be more pronounced, more dramatic, right? Because the first jump and the last jump should be shorter than the big jump. Normally when you take a big jump you travel a little further than if you take a small jump. So let's just make that happen. And we're gonna delete this first one because we're just gonna take it away because we don't need the ball to be traveling before the first jump. This is more preparation time for the ball to make the first jump. So it's going to be sitting here on the first frames. Great. What we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that the speed is changing abruptly at each bounce, right? So as you can see now, it's smooth. It's kind of like a curve, but we need it to be lines. So let's just select all of these and hit linear tangents. Okay, what we see now is that there is not really that much difference in speed. We have pretty much the same speed, especially between the first and the second jump. So we're going to fix that by moving this key here upwards. And we're going to move the other key downwards. Make sure they don't get any tangents or anything from the other key. Right there. So what we have now is the slower speed and the small jump of longer travel, and then a slower one. How does this look? Let's see. Alright, so it's jumping, and it's like jumping slightly on the spot and making a big jump, and then like regrouping on the other side slightly. So cool. That is pretty nice. Maybe we're gonna make it yeah, it was perhaps a little bit too short of a travel on the other side. It looks like it's kind of getting stuck there. So I'm gonna make it a little, gonna make this a little bit longer. Let's see now what it looks like. Yeah, that's kind of nice, I think. All right, perfect. So we're ready now to give this ball some character in this jump, and we're going to do that using squash and stretch. So let's continue. Alright, so now let's add the deformer that is going to give this ball some character, some squash and stretch. So let's just select the sphere to begin with. We'll go over to animation, and we'll make a choice here, going to deform nonlinear squash. Great, so it's centered neatly on the sphere, but we need it to also follow along as the sphere is animated. So with the squash handle selected, we're going to shift select the ball. I'm going to hit P. That made the handle a child of the sphere, and it will move with the sphere. That's perfect. So now let's try the factor here on the squash deformer. Let's try the factor. Let's see what happens. So with the middle mouse button, I can slide this value, and we can see here that it's actually deforming. It's influencing this ball from the middle and symmetrically, which is not really what we're aiming at. We want this ball to be squashed towards the floor, right? So we do that by we have to lower this handle. So we're going to translate this down. Let's make it 2.5. Let's see where that heck gets it. All right, that's might be too far. We'll see. We'll also change the low bound to 0. This is the lower end of the influence to the ball. Just put it at 0. On the high bound, let's put it at 2. Now let's set it at 3. Okay. So let's see what happens now when we. All right. So it's actually, yeah, it's really giving it to it there. I don't know if it's might be too much. So let's put this a little higher. I think that handle got too far down. Now it's just -2, which is pretty good, I think, because we want the ball to be really pressed against the floor. It doesn't matter that it's sticking out below the plane. That doesn't matter. It's just, it will look good anyway. So let's see with these current settings, how's the ball behaving. I think this could work actually, because remember, we want to give this ball a character. It shouldn't be physically, it shouldn't look like it's physically correct, right? It's not a, we're looking for a cartoony bounce, which means the ball has some life of its own, right? So I think this is, we're going to leave it like this for now. From the beginning, we're going to set the factor to 0. This is the starting point, and we can see that the ball is touching the ground. Perfect. Very well. So up until its takeoff here, we want the ball to be charging up. We want the ball to be gathering momentum. So we'll just select the factor and we'll set a key here. Let's set it at the first frame. Factor, key selected. Right, and so let's make it really charge up right away, and that means we're gonna squash it. So we're gonna squash it towards the floor. Perhaps not that much, but like this. Bam! And slightly before taking off, it's gonna be it's gonna begin to shift its weight upwards. So we'll just set a key here on 7. Let's see what that looks like. And on somewhere in the going up, we're gonna give it the stretched form, stretched shape, so that it looks like it's leaping, right? Whoa! So there it is. We have the charging up. We have the leap. And when it's reaching there, we're gonna do some changes to the y-axis. Actually, we're gonna make sure that it's really planting itself on the floor and really squashing itself towards the floor. So, but we'll put a squashed key here. Now this doesn't look right because it's starting to squash well before it's hitting the ground, but we'll adjust that. We'll get to that. Now we're we're going to make this ball stretch for the jump, for the big one. This is the one, this is the jump the ball's been charging up for, right? So this is it. Now we'll go to factor and we're going to stretch it a lot. So let's make it 0.3 factor. That's quite a lot, actually. Good. So now it's really going for it. And hitting the ground again. It's going to be squashed naturally, like this. So woo, and then it's hitting. It's squashing well before. We'll get to that. For now, we're just setting the extremes, so to speak. So we get here, and then there we are. We need to stretch it right about here, because remember, the deformation happens in the beginning of the jump. That's when you have to really stretch and displace your mass, right? So it's not so much in the end of the jump as it is in the beginning of the jump. And once again, hitting, going to squash, and finally we're gonna make it so it's gonna go to 0, factor 0 in about frame, let's say 54. We're gonna hit 0, and but before that, before he goes back to his original state, we're gonna make it stretch a little bit, ever so slightly, like this. So let's see how that looks. Let's see what happened there. We got it at 0.05. It's just not enough. Let's see what happens at 0. No, we need to go plus, like that. So yeah, let's play that. Let's play the whole thing. Let's see what happens. I usually use the Alt V shortcut to playback. Okay, it looks like it's got something. It's got some kind of will of its own, right? It looks kind of weird, though. Yeah, but we knew that, right? It's not a surprise. The ending, I think the ending is looking quite interesting. Yeah, well, maybe we should. It's this part which is too fast, I think. Let's give it some more time. Yeah. Also, we can move this one. Now let's see what happens in the end. Yeah, that looks pretty decent, I think. The whole, yeah, reposturing, recomposition of the ball's integrity, whatever you call it. Great. So let's make this significant change now to the y-axis here. So let's bring up the graph editor again. We'll go to Save Layouts, Perspective Graph. Oh yes, excellent. So we have the the y translate here, and this we're going to give it some flat keys here, some flat values. So in this one, we're going to make we're going to set another key. Let's just move one frame ahead and go to the translate y and go to the key selected. And we select the key and we go and give it a value of 1 naturally, which is the floor. And then we're going to move this frame a little earlier. Well, this one we can move later. Let's see what happens now. Let's see what this looks like. I think this should be linear still. So now it's got time now to get squashed, right? So let's select the deformer again, we'll go to just the deformer, please. We'll go to the, well, we have the scale, the squash factor here. So now we're going to make it deform after it's hit the floor, right? So on this frame, we're going to make it stretched still. So it's keeping its stretched state until reaching the floor. And there is the squash going on. So, bam. And it's taking off again. Now this isn't looking really as well as it could because it's traveling while it's planted on the floor, so that's not really correct. So we just go back to the sphere. Now we're going to bring up the translate Z, which is the traveling along the plane, and so we see it's hitting there, right? And then it's going for a few frames, which we don't want. We don't want it to be in the same place here. So just let's go to the translate Z here and just key this. Now we're gonna take this key. Actually, we're gonna check this key first. What value it has. We're gonna copy this value. Now we're gonna take this value and paste it right here on the other key. We're gonna see now what happens now with. Okay, so great. It's got more time. It's hitting and it's staying there. Now it's going too much straight up, which is because this curve got flat. This tangent. You just make it hard again. Linear. Now it's more. It's more. Stronger acceleration, which we need. We're going to pronounce this bouncing. We're going to make it more pronounced so that it's actually going up in the air a little quicker and staying floating slightly, then hitting, and then jumping and just slowing down a little bit and then hitting again. It gives a more pronounced bouncing impression. So, but let's just do this adjustment also on the other jump where it's landing. I mean, on this bouncing here. So first we'll make sure that it has some keys to stay planted, right? We'll do that by, yeah, let's set a key here and translate Y. This key will be 1, right? Perfect. And this will be a linear tangent 2. So let's see what happens now. Okay, so it's now, let's see. Yeah, it's got some time now to squash, to return, to go to its squashed state, and we'll do that. Let's see there. So let's go back to the squash handle, and we'll go to squash. I'm going to key here, set a key on the factor. Good. Now this, since this is where we need to set a key here where it's touching down. And this is going to be a stretched one, right, as in the previous landing. So we'll bring it up. We'll adjust it according to our taste. There it is. It's slamming. Bam. It's really slamming down. There it is. Yeah. It might be the proper way. We'll see. Right now we need to restore the shape a little bit, so it's coming back actually. Good. Now it's traveling, right? You're seeing this clearly, as I. We'll go to the sphere. We don't want it to be traveling while it's jammed into the floor. So we'll just, let's see, we'll go there. This is where it's hitting, so this is where it's going to stop traveling. We got to translate Z key selected, and this, let's see, let's try and make it, let's make this value the same as this value. So just take this, copy that, paste it right there, and make it hard right away. I mean linear. So what do we got here? Bam. This, yeah, it could work, I think. So, and now we have the last one. So let's see what that looks like. We need to make the same arch. We can use this tool actually, Insert Keys tool. We just select the curve. There it is. And then we go to the Insert Keys tool and middle mouse click and move the key to make a similar shape as we had before. Since this is a slower speed, it shouldn't be as dramatic as the big one, because the big one is really big, really strong. This is a smaller one, but still needs to start deforming on the frame where it hits naturally. So this frame is going to be let's see, let's go back to the here we need to adjust the translate Y. We'll make it land a little earlier. This is fine. It's going to be a cartoony feeling about this. This is cool. So we got it, and it's sliding. Translate Z. Let's see, it's landing there, right? This is where it's going to be. It shouldn't really slide. So let's just move this one frame. Perhaps we should move it up a little bit to make sure that it's not sliding. I mean, it's not getting further away than we need it to. There it is. So it's blam, and it's regaining its posture nicely. Okay, let's see the whole thing now. So what we still got left. It's a really cartoony motion, isn't it? I think it's kind of nice in its unrealism, let's say. Perhaps we should make the middle jump a little larger, right? Slower. It's coming down awfully fast. I think this is perhaps too fast. So we need to make sure that we get all the keys for this adjustment. We'll just select this. We'll take both of these, squash handle and the particle sphere, polygon sphere, sorry. And we'll move these ones. Holding down Shift, you can slide with the middle mouse button, and all the keys will be moved only in the horizontal direction. So, one more, let's see what happens. Yeah, maybe it was one frame too much. Once more. Cool. We have some sliding, right? We have some sliding here, there. And that's because as you can see, the translate Y is hitting on this frame, but the translate Z is actually not stopping until the next frame. So just push that to the same frame. Let's see what happens there. Bam! It's jammed down. Yeah, that's a bit too early. I think you should have one frame where it's in between those two squash stretch states. So it should be on this frame. It shouldn't be as squashed. as there. So let's move this one. Let's move them both there. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, that could work actually. It's It gets better as the more times you view it. It's like you get used to it, which is perhaps not a good thing. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make the curve, the translate Z actually not as sharp. I'd like to make it slightly curved because to make it like a nicer arch. Right now the arch is actually going up and then going down in almost a upside down V, and I think it should be more like an arch. So let's try that. Let's make it flat here, and this means it's going to be slower in the beginning, and the middle is going to be quite fast, and in the end it's going to be slower again. So it's more of an arch. So, and why not on the last jump to just flat, just the flat tangents. Let's see now. This is very toony, very cartoony. Good. Let's pause right now and continue in just a second. All right, welcome back. So, what do we have? Let's check it out. We have, let's go play, hit play. Great. It's what I'm seeing is that, as you can tell from this curve, the second landing is kind of long. It's a bit longer than the first. Maybe we should, I think, to make such a great jump, you need more time, right? You need more time to really set off. So I think this pause here should be a little longer. Let's be really make sure that we're also getting the other key, which is the translate Y. Let's check also the factor, what happens there. Yeah, we need to, yeah, let's take this. We have also, so what we got here is the factor, squash factor. We have translate Y, and we have the translate Z. So let's take these keys, which are associated with the landing, and slide them just one frame backwards. If you're noticing that the keys are snapping to the frames, that's because I have this time snap turned on. I think it simplifies the animation. Now, if you need to fine-tune, of course you should turn this off, and but it gets kind of messy. I prefer to have it clean and structured, you know, separated. So it's a matter of taste, perhaps. Well, let's see what happens here. So we have one frame longer contact with the floor. Let's play this. I want to see this. Yeah, why not? I mean, we could tweak this for hours, but I'll let you do that by yourself. I'm gonna add one more deformer actually, and that's the bend deformer. It's gonna give a really cool leaning effect to the ball. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go to animation. We have the animation menu selected, and we go to deform, nonlinear, bend. There it is. I think it's there anyway. It's not really visible, but it's there. Cool. So just as we did with the squash and stretch deformer, the squash and stretch handle, we need to parent this one to the sphere. So it's already selected. We'll just shift select the sphere and we'll hit P. There it is. It's now moving with the sphere. Perfect. So what do we have here? What can we do with this? Well, let's see. What happens? Let's play with this in midair. We just go to curvature and see. Okay, we got a bending going on, but in the wrong direction. Is bending along the x-axis. So that's not a problem. We'll just rotate it 90 degrees, like so. We got the attribute here, rotate y, and we rotated it 90 degrees. So perfect. Now it's rotated 90 degrees all the time, and we have a curvature of 49.274, which is perhaps we need to keyframe this. I mean, can't stay like this all the time, but it was a good start. So let's go back to 0 on there, and also we should try and see what happens with the low bound and high bound. You should keep in mind that this effect is only going to be used when the ball is stretched, because that's when you need to bend, right? It's when you're leaning forward. So let's lean this guy. Actually, this is looking pretty nice, I think. What happens if we play with the low bound, high bound? No effect there. And the high bound is just gonna straighten it out, which is not what we desire. So let's just undo that. And so let's go back to the beginning and set it to 0. And we're going to go curvature key selected, because now we're going to start keying this. So we have the first one, the squashing, which is doesn't have any bending involved. But as soon as it takes off here, this is when he's going to start to bend. So from around here, from frame 10, we'll set a key, and we'll make him bend into him. We'll make him lean into the jump. He's going somewhere, you know. So there it is. And as he is bending, as he's going for the landing, he'll be bending to the other direction. It's going to be really neat. So let's do that. We'll just slide it back with the middle mouse button. So what we have here, we have shifting of the weight, and with the upper part aiming in the direction of the jump initially, but later it's more leaning backwards. It's like he's shifting his feet forward. And once he's hitting here, we need to cancel this out to 0, so it doesn't look so weird in the landing part. Okay, is this a nice result? I think it could be. I think it could be a little over the top, but we'll keep it for now. We have another jump to worry about here. We'll just make this guy lean over now, and so he's leaning there. And once he makes it, once he passes the wall by a good margin, I must say, he's a great jumper, this one. I will lean him back ever so slightly. There is. He's perfect. Yeah, that works. And remember, as he's touching down, he's gonna be completely back to normal in the bend wise. So he's straightening up there. And once more, we're bending. And bending back. This one might have come slightly too late, I think. And then right here, back to 0. Alright, let's see what we got here. Let's just hide the grid. We don't need it. And play. Let's just make this a little bit more like he's floating a little bit more. I think that would be cool. But whoa, like boing, whoosh. Yeah, I think that can be done. We should select everything here, and in the middle we'll just we'll make first of all we'll make his jump. There is this option we can choose to free the tangents. I think it's break tangents. It's called break tangents. So we'll select the translate Y curve and then we'll select the it's because we have all those things selected, so they turn up. However, we can choose just a sphere and that won't happen. So we'll just break the tangents in this one. It's kind of cool. And that means we can exaggerate the shape here, which will give us a longer flight or a higher flight naturally. This is better, I think. Let's see in real time. Yeah, that's very nice. I think that added a lot. And then, of course, you can play with this. You can go even further if you feel like it. Don't forget to break them. Maybe it's too much, this one. I think it might have been too much there. Also, be careful to break symmetry, because it could start looking weird if it's taking longer time on one side than the other. So don't do that. Let's see now. This is more balanced. We could go a little bit more. Let's see. That's cool. So as you can see, yeah, this was too quick, I think. This is a bit too quick. Let's see if he needs more time in the beginning to squash. It's too slow now. Just something in between there. Let's make it hard. Linear. I keep saying hard. I mean linear. Yeah. That's good. That's great. Cool. We made a character jump a wall, and we've given it some character with deformers. As you can see, deformers are really powerful animation tools. They can really give you a lot of expression with a minor set of keys. So yeah, I hope you've gotten away with this with some new ideas, or at least some basic grip of the animation workflow in Maya graph editor. So great. That'll be it for this tutorial. Thank you.